All right, let's welcome in longtime baseball columnist. You see him on SNY all the time. John Harper joins us. Good evening, Harp. How are you, bud?
I'm good, Moose. Kate, good to see you. How you guys doing?
Good. Let's start with SoDo, right? Let's start with the heavy lifting first. Where do you think SoDo ends up? Clearly, there's no emotional connection to the Yankees. I was standing there as he answered after the Yankees got eliminated in the fifth game, Harp. I mean, he just wants to get paid. Does he end up in the Bronx or Queens or someplace else?
Yeah, it wasn't much love there on the way out.
Oh, there was none.
But that's what Boris guys. Remember, Cole had the Boris cap on after the Astros World Series before he came to the Yankees. So, you know, I just had to do a bold predictions column for SNY. And look, I think it's coming down to Mets and Yankees. I said Mets just because I think Steve Cohen, this feels like his moment to really flex his financial muscle. He tried to get Yamamoto last year, lost out to the Dodgers. I think he stayed away from Judge a couple years ago. I think he feels like this is the time, this is the guy. I think he's going to have the highest offer, and then it's going to be, I mean, I think if all things are equal, I think SoDo would go back to the Yankees, but I don't think Hal Steinbrenner wants to go to $600, $700 million. If that's where Cohen goes, I think Soto's going to the Mets.
Wow. Okay. Love that bold prediction. Let's talk about Pete Alonso, also free agent. So what kind of deal do you expect Pete to land this offseason? Will it be with the Mets also?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of that is tied to SoDo. Everything is connected to me. I think if the Mets get SoDo, I think they'd be pretty happy to move on from Alonso and find other ways to fill that first base position, because I don't think David Stearns wants to get too locked up in too many long-term deals. They already have one with Lindor. So I would think, I mean, we don't know what Alonso's market is either, because he didn't have a great year like Judge did in his walk year. He had the good postseason, but I'm not sure he's going to get the kind of money he's looking for. So maybe he has to come back to the Mets on a shorter-term deal. I think they would be willing to do that. But I predicted he would go to the San Francisco Giants, who have tried for years to get the big stars, haven't been able to get him. I think they'll make a long-term offer to him that he'll find kind of too, in the end, maybe too much to resist, and he goes out west.
All right, Harp, so Cole back with the Yankees, right? And they had to bring him back. All right, Corbin Burns, Blake Snell, top starters on the market. Could you see either of those two guys landing in New York?
You could, for sure. I mean, Burns is a top guy, but again, I'm not sure. I think somewhat, again, is tied to SoDo in terms of the Mets, especially. If they get SoDo, I think Stearns would try and stay away from the long term. He's a guy that, you know, really finds value in pitching. Really has a knack for finding undervalued pitchers. He did it last year, finding Manaea, Severino on short-term deals. I think he would try and do more of that. Although, I mean, to me, I think they should try and bring back Manaea. I think that change he made in his delivery is sustainable. But Burns is going to want 6 or 7 years for sure. And Snell, I would think the same after he didn't get the deal he wanted last year. So I'm not sure that either of those guys fit. And the Yankees, for me, their top need. I mean, if they get SoDo, maybe they do go to pitching. I mean, if they do get SoDo, maybe they look at pitching. If they don't get SoDo, I think their offense has to be the priority for them. So I'm going to say neither one of those guys comes to New York.
Well, let's talk about that Yankees offense a little bit, because Aaron Judge obviously not going anywhere. He had another monster season, but did struggle in the playoffs. Now, if SoDo leaves, could you see the Yankees moving the captain back to right field?
Yeah, I mean, he's much better there at this point in his career. Not as much of wear and tear on his body than he is in center field. I thought he played a really good center field for the most part, except, as we know, that last fly ball in the fifth inning of this catch here was a great catch in that game as well. He can play it, but at some point, I think they want to take some of the stress off his body, move him to right field. And I think at some point, maybe they might be thinking about him in the first base as he gets deeper into his career. So I think that's a factor in anything they do. But I do think they need to take care of Judge and take care of that body.
All right, let's end with Aaron Boone. He's back. The Yankees are going to reportedly pick up his option for next year. What do you believe the future holds for Boone in the Bronx?
I tell you, Moose, you know, I mean, look, they got to the World Series, but in the end, the Yankees end up looking bad again, and some of it has to fall on. Look, he gets credit for getting the team to the World Series, but we all know the American League wasn't strong. They had a pretty easy path there, and then they kind of get embarrassed by the way it ends with the mistakes. You know, all season long, the base running mistakes and defensive mistakes, it finally caught up with them. You go back to Game 1 against the Dodgers, and that play that Torres doesn't make, letting the ball bounce off him for no good reason. Ohtani gets the third and ends up scoring the tying run. All those things add up, especially in the postseason. And, you know, you've heard comments from the Dodgers. You know, Joe Kelly was out there again today on video saying...
he's dragging them on a daily basis. Kick the ball around.
Hey, and listen, Joe Kelly, he didn't even pitch in a series.
Didn't even pitch.
But we know, we also saw this quote from, I think, Joel Sherman's story from the Dodger scout saying we knew that the Yankees would make mistakes. A lot of things took pressure off us defensively. So I think some of that's got to fall on Boone. And, he's going to get at least one more year. But at some point, if you don't clean that stuff up, I think they're going to have to make a change.
Harp, you're the best. We appreciate it. Enjoy watching the Nets game tonight, all right?
How'd you know, Moose? How'd you know?
Well, you're a huge Brooklyn Nets fan. We'll all watch the Knicks. You'll watch the Nets.
They're a stiffer. Yeah, I know.
Harp, you're the best. We love you.